Good afternoon and welcome back to the interview series of The Informed Entrepreneur. My name is Heike Heeman and today we are speaking with Lee Rand of FastSigns with 3 locations, one in Annapolis, one in Pasadena, and one in Arbutus. Thank you for having us here today.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to speak with you about your business. For starters, we already have a display behind us, but could you tell us a little bit about what FastSigns does?
We are visual communications experts. So if you have a new business or a project, we can help you from start for logo design, creation to installation. So we can do that with any type of business, with electrical signs to advertising on the side of the road with chloroplast signs.
And you also do signs for indoors.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
We can do your interior lettering, windows, any kind of, as you can see, we can do anything for a trade show indoors, any kind of decorative wall, vinyl, logos, anything like that.
Right. Especially things that you see behind a reception desk, but also in a hallway, identifying different doors and things like that. And outside of the view of the camera, we're looking at a display that also is an electronic sign, so you do those as well.
Yes, we do digital signs as well. We can do the graphic design for digital signs and get you outfitted at all different budget levels for digital signage, indoor, outdoor.
That's fantastic. And between the 3 stores, how far out do you go geographically for your customers, or where do you draw from?
I mean, we can go anywhere, but I know it gets to a point where we have to charge for drive times as far as installation. So we do a lot of shipping. We have accounts that we ship all over the country for. Mm-hmm. But if it gets, probably with installation, I would say within an hour. But we do have a bucket truck, so which not everyone has. So that does give us a little bit of advantage that people will use us a little farther away.
Okay, fantastic. And with 3 stores, you have a sizable team. Can you tell us a little bit about how many people work for you and what are some of the challenges maybe and the rewards of working with a bigger team?
I have about 14 total employees between the 3 stores, and that consists of salespeople, graphic designers, production, and installation. And it's great in that we can pull from each store whenever we need to. We have different equipment in each store too, so that is wonderful. And then if somebody is not there that day, I can pull from another store. I would say the disadvantages of it is sometimes it is difficult to hire, maintain, and manage a lot of people.
Right.
As with any business.
Absolutely. Now, FastSigns is a franchise, and you mentioned earlier that with a franchise comes a lot of guidance on how to set up the business, how to run it. Can you talk a little bit more about how the franchise helped you grow?
They are very supportive. They do our website for us, so we have the best website because we have a big, corporate backing on that. We also have a franchise consultant in the field who visits with us, helps us with any problems. We have a whole marketing team in Dallas, and we have a convention every year where we go and get very inspired. They have an outside sales convention when I just sent one of my salespeople to that helps, teach selling and teach about signs.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Now, one other thing you mentioned is that a couple years into owning the franchise, you actually reached out for some additional support. Mm-hmm. Can you describe that a little bit and what difference that made?
Yes, I'm a big advocate of business coaching. We had a coach for about 2 years, and we didn't, before we used him, we didn't have really any good systems in place, and we didn't measure, that was a big word for him, measuring what we're doing. Mm-hmm. So we still practice everything that he taught us. We have meetings with our employees to show them what's going on in the business. And every month we look at the numbers, and we still meet every week and go over what's going on, and even though we don't have him anymore. So.
Right.
A big avenue of business coaching.
It's a great way to get an outside perspective from someone who is more objective than the business owner often, and then
Yes.
also has some knowledge from other industries that could be pulled into what you do as well.
And the money you spend there, we've been so much more profitable since using him that it was definitely worth it.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's certainly great to know. So besides advice from the franchisor and from business coaching, did you get help from others, let's say your CPA, your lawyer, or other mentors in the community?
Well, we do have a board group as well of other franchise owners that we meet with twice a year. And that's just really inspiring and helpful. You just bounce ideas off of everyone, so that's very helpful. I will say my bookkeeper and my CPA have taught so much. There's so much you don't know when you just start a business about taxes and all that fun stuff. So they've been a huge help to growing our business, yes. Our financial consultant has been very helpful, and I've been Annapolis Rotary, and just meeting people there that are more experienced than me. They've been wonderful help as well. Just great people.
That's fantastic. So I know you're big in being out in the community. Can you talk a little bit about what you do outside of your website to be found and to find your clients?
Yeah, I'm like in every networking group. It's been a little bit harder since we've expanded, because I used to be in a lot of different groups in Annapolis. So I still do B&I and Rotary, and we're sponsoring the Maryland Women's Expo coming up in Baltimore. And that's going to be huge. It's a couple hundred vendors with thousands of people that come, so that'll be really a fun thing for my Arbutus store to do. We've joined some networking groups around the Pasadena area, Pasadena Business Association. We're working a expo coming up here for Pasadena. So, and then I try to get my salespeople out in the community as well. They go out on a lot of site visits for us. And we put clings up on empty spaces. I was going door to door up and down Route 2 the other day. I mean, that's still, still doing stuff like that.
Right.
I do have somebody who handles social media for me. They do Facebook, they blog, they do Google Plus, and so we put everything in Dropbox for her.
Okay. So this is someone external to your company. Okay.
Yeah.
It's always good to know when to hire out in terms of expertise or cost or both. But as a startup business especially, most people don't have the expertise to go beyond what they're doing in business to also do all the social media. So definitely a good way to not spread yourself too thin.
I'm definitely smart enough to know that I can't do it, so I just need to hire somebody. So I can barely make a post on Facebook.
So have you gotten any, have you, through your own experiences growing this business, learned some things that would be worth passing on to other business owners?
A big thing is having the financial backing to get through those first few years, and knowing that you have to work hard. And I personally tell people to have 3 to 5 years of income, whether it's a partner who has an income or you've saved money, because it's hard at first, and I think a lot of people don't expect that.
Right.
When I was like, when people said 3 to 5 years, they bet 3 to 5 years, to break even, or to make money. So I feel like that's huge. I tell people that when they tour our franchise, if they're interested in doing it, just to be aware of that. Because you have to have a line of credit, financial backing to be able to do this, and you have to be willing to work really hard those first few years. I mean, all the time, but especially those first few years. And another thing is don't be afraid either. You're going to make mistakes. I've looked at that so many times, the things I was afraid of, and now, I mean, I've grown so much doing this business that I'm willing to take a lot more chances than I did before, so.
Because that's another way of learning, is to make a mistake.
Definitely.
You're less likely to make it again.
Definitely.
Absolutely, that's fantastic advice, to just keep trying. And in terms of the financial backing, that's certainly super important as well. Can you talk a little bit about what it's like to have a family member as a business partner? You mentioned earlier that you're the majority owner, but your husband is co-owner. So what is that like, especially when you are still taking it home?
Right. I always tell people we complement each other really well, because we're totally different in that I'm the one who's out in the community. I could go talk to a wall. I can walk into a group of people and just make a friend, or whatever, just talk to anybody. He's not so much like that. But I don't love the numbers as much. So he can sit there and crunch numbers, whereas that would kill me to sit in a room and crunch numbers all day. So we complement each other really, really well. I'm more like the employee's mom and friend, whereas he's more there,
The one who cracks the whip.
Yes, we complement each other really, really well. And one of my friends gave me advice that they're a husband and wife that work together. And she said, make sure that when you get home, you talk about other things. And so we try really hard. It's hard because we do bring it home. I mean, it's hard not to, but we try, at night to talk about other things than work.
Right.
When we get home at 10 o'clock or whatever.
So you're still actually pulling really long hours.
Not as bad as it used to be. He used to come home really, really, I mean, we have 2 children, so obviously I have to be home with them, but he was literally coming home probably 10 the first few years every night. So, but we have a great manager in Annapolis now, and that's been huge. That store is running really, really well, and we have a great sales guy there now, and that's taken a huge amount off of Dave, because he was doing big sales there. So we have a great team there now.
Yeah. So this is 2 points about that new business owners often misjudge. Number one is the number of hours that they're going to end up working in a new business, which tend to be a lot longer than most people expect. And the other part is the whole financing. You really need to be prepared, not just to have a certain amount of years of income secured, but something extra for that case of an emergency. So, speaking of emergencies, one of the other things I would imagine you also need, especially with locations and employees, is insurance. So that is probably another one of those experts you draw on from outside the company.
I have a great insurance company that, obviously health and insuring all the businesses. And we have a whole system now that comes out of one store, and the other stores we've had to figure all that out, so it's a little bit of a game trying to figure all that out. But yes, we have huge help in all areas of that. I'm very much a big ask for help person, because you can't do it all.
Right. Now, are your children also helping with any of the businesses?
My son worked this summer, and I kept saying to the employees, I'm like, be honest with me if he's not pulling his weight. And they're like, no, he's fine. I mean, 6-year-old boy, but So he and his friends helped us out this summer because we were short somebody. So, and then my daughter will come in and do some of, like she loves to weed the vinyl and stuff like that. So yeah, they do help.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about what kind of an impact it has had on them to see their mom as a business owner and professional out in the community, and also the other part of them being employees, if you will, in the business, and learning what it's like to listen to someone else give you instructions within this kind of a context?
Well, I tried to tell Matthew this summer, because he said one day the manager in Annapolis was gone, and he said, Mom, what do I do next? I happen to be there. And I said, look at what the work orders that need to be done, and figure it out, and he's like, well, no, Miss Sarah tells me everything that I have to do next, and I said,
Right.
and that's a big thing with, anybody, especially a young person, is getting them to learn to think for themselves, and, look at all the work that needs to be done back there, think for yourself and do it. But it's been great. I was a stay-at-home mom for when they were young, and a lot too, I've noticed that they've had to become more independent as far as, I can't do everything and be everywhere for them like I was before, but it's taught them to learn how to make some food and learn how to, and it's good for both of them to see how hard we work.
Right,
Because,
right.
like my son said, wow, sometimes just seeing that people show up to work is a huge, if I do that when I'm older, I want to go places,
Right. So he's learned some discipline and
Yeah.
really what
Definitely.
is important in the eyes of an employer.
Right, yes.
So regardless of whether he takes over at some point or not, that's certainly an important lesson.
Yes.
Wow, fantastic. Any other advice that other business owners out there should take in?
The first few years, as I mentioned before, I was afraid a lot of times. I would take things very personally. And I would say, I'd cry if I had to fire somebody because they, weren't performing or whatever. And I would say, don't take things too personally. People have lives, and you can't be responsible for everybody else too, and each person's their own destiny, and,
Right.
You can't get offended and take things personally when something happens, and you can't be afraid if somebody's not doing, we used to be so afraid of letting someone go if they weren't performing, and we've always made it, we've always flourished, we've gone on.
Right, the world doesn't end.
The world doesn't end, and I would say that was a big thing, 'cause I would just don't be afraid to go with your gut.
Right.
Because there were a lot of times where Dave's gut would say something and I'd feel bad for the person, and he'd say, so now I know, go with your
Right.
gut, don't be afraid, don't take things so personally, because,
Yes.
people are who they are, and it's just the way it is.
And you can't change them unless they want to change.
Right.
So,
Right.
well, thank you so much for hosting us here today.
Thank you.
You have a beautiful store here, and I know you've helped a lot of people with their signage out in the community. So, great to meet with you.
Thank you.
Lee.
Thank you.
This is Lee Rand of FastSigns. My name is Heike Heyman with IdeaShare Business Coaching, and we are doing this series for the Informed Entrepreneur. See you next time.